Hi, and welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
Happy Ides of March.
Yeah,
Today
is the
Ides
beware
of
the Ides of March.
the Ides of March. And I was thinking, this week your turtle's going to be blue. I
had a blue day already.
I mean, it's been so cold.
It's so cold today. Yeah.
I mean, I kind of dig it, but because I'd rather have that than heat already in March, which I thought we were going to. I'm like, I guess spring is over. But it's been chilly.
Yeah, it got pretty warm, and then like from Wednesday there was a cooling trend, and then today
I guess
it's like 60 degrees and pouring.
I guess I forgot my tie-dye. Y'all are in tie-dye.
Well, Tim gave me this, and Tim.
I know. You didn't tell me.
Mine doesn't have cat holes in it.
I didn't get the memo. But I'm wearing my warm sweater because it was so cold.
Yeah, but you had to
It's
go
all
outside.
rainy. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna go first.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the Cragsmore String Quartet sock saga, I have updates. I made 2 sets of the red, right? Here's the one that actually, this is the set that actually matches, size 5 tiny little feet. I hope it fits her. And then here's the other 2. One is smaller than the other. I thought I would go ahead and sew them up and send them to her. One is sewn already, so I just have to sew this toe. But I may as well just send them and say, here's extra. One might be too big. I don't know, give it to your boyfriend. I don't know. So, anyway, I don't know what I'm doing with these yet. I don't want to throw them away.
To wear one sock.
Use it at Christmas.
Use it at Christmas. Yeah, you could use this for a Christmas stocking. But like one, and actually tell her like, whichever one fits best, let me know and I'll try to recreate it. I don't know. So I don't know what I'm doing with that. But, and then this was the pair for the largest feet in the quartet. And this is not the knit, they're inside out. You can see, I don't know if you can see, but that's the regular knit stitch. But this is, it's fraternal twins, not identical twins, obviously, because these were just 2 skeins of yarn I had from like Joann's. They are I brought all my labels. Mani Petty by Lion Brand. And it was just 2 skeins I bought randomly. And so I didn't know where I was starting in the color changes. So they are related. You see the colors, how they progress through. They're related. But these came out well. I made them all together, all in one. Here's a picture of them all in one long loop. Because I decided after the debacle with the little socks, I decided I need to make them all in the same sitting, basically. And so here it is off the machine, all connected by, you can see the bright green waste yarn. So then I separated them. I just need to sew the toes. That's what I think I'm going to work on tonight while we're here. And then, so there's that. And then the yarn sitting in front, this is, I think I talked about it last week. I couldn't use that original yarn, and what's the matter?
Scissors.
I can't find my scissors.
I have some.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I couldn't use that original yarn that he liked, and so I think I showed it last week. The skein of blue yarn that he decided he wanted. So I this is what you have to do with the sock machine. You have to wind it on these cones, so that as you're knitting with the machine, the yarn just comes straight up off the cone. So this is going to be for the one gentleman in the quartet. And then Hannah picked this for her, because I'm like, everyone can't get new socks and you not get new socks. So I'm making hers out of this really pretty, it's called, this one is Less Traveled Yarn, Creosote Collection. And I think the name of the color is Sonoita.
Sonoita?
Sonoita.
I don't know.
And this is superwash merino with nylon. And it says here, hand wash, dry flat. I don't expect them to anyway. So it's a good thing they're superwash because they should do well in the washer and dryer. So that's for one of the quartet members, and then Hannah's getting this one, and this is KFL collection sock superwash virgin wool, and it is colorway Cape York. Isn't that pretty? Mm-hmm. Reminds me of I don't know, granite or something. Mm-hmm. So those are the, and I think these are going to be gorgeous. Look, there's like cream and purple and blue. It's hand dyed, really nice. And then I have been working hard on Hannah's sweater, and
it's going to be so beautiful.
I made a good bit of progress. I'm now at the bottom of the next. There's a set of swirls right like this up here, so making a bit of progress. It's going well. After the swirl pattern, then I start the whole other section. So that's kind of fun. So that's going. I have no hopes, no plans for a due date. It's just going to go as long as it's going to go. And that's really all I've been doing. I had a couple days off this week, and I spent it working on socks. And it was nice.
And cleaning your house.
Well, yeah, and so it took me a long time to actually just to make this pair because I was very conscious of, I had to make gauge swatches, and I wound up making like 2 or 3. Well, and I was trying to use the bigger cylinder, and that didn't work out, and I went back to the smaller cylinder with a looser gauge, and I think I got the right size. So it took me a while to make these 2 socks. What did you say? And what else?
That's for stories.
Oh.
Your house.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that's all I did this week, and that's me, and I'm done.
Okay, I'm going next.
I'm not done like that, Rogue. Rogue, seriously. I heard you say done.
I think you're half off the thing because you can't see her little face.
What did you say?
You can't see her little face.
What are you talking about? Oh, no. Just okay.
Okay,
So my yarn's in the way.
So right now I'm working on Holly Jolly Christmas, Erica Michaels. I haven't worked any more on the topper. Honestly, I think it's big enough. I just have to dig out the little things to measure for the top, and I just didn't want to. I know where it is. I just don't want to go get it. So this is how far I've gotten so far on the panel one. I have not gotten as far as I wanted. Obviously, I'm not going to, today is the last day I plan to work on it. Obviously, I will not be finishing it this year. But that's okay. I was looking at this pattern. You know, when you sing the song, Have a Holly Jolly Christmas, and then the next line is, it's the best time of the year, right? So the pattern has that line, it's the best time of the year, right? Mm-hmm. But if I left off these 2 things, all I would have to do is Christmas. Not that I'm trying to rush the pattern or anything, but...
Or you could just make the border and not the next set of words. Oh, but you want to be done.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to finish today anyway, so...
well, you have a whole year to decide on that.
Yeah, but after working on the rabbit one, I was like, well, you know, I don't have to do the whole pattern. And honestly, I bought the pattern for the berries.
Right.
Not for this.
Right.
So it's not that I'm so in love with this that that's what I bought the pattern for. As opposed to this, that, while the berry is fine, I bought it for this. This is Happy Hanukkah, again, Erica Michaels. Holly Jolly, I'm stitching on, I believe, it's either 16 count or 18 count that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I can't remember the name of it, because I buy this fabric a lot, a white with cloudy looking blues in it. But this theoretically, is 32 count white Lugana. I know when I bought it at the attic, I asked for 32 count. But the holes seem much smaller to me, as I mentioned. So I started on the candelabra. And I like the way it's looking so far. Is that what it is? Yeah, menorah. I'm not Jewish. What do I know?
I'm just helping.
Yeah. So I've got the candles. Okay. And I was telling Beth that there is some back stitching on this. I don't know if you can see it even with a picture, but there's a star here and a star here. And that's supposed to be the only back stitching that she writes about in the pattern. And she puts her list of threads, and then in the notes below, she'll put notes concerning, what's backstitched and, if you need to do some specialty stitch somewhere or whatever. And she talks about backstitching those stars, but not about even what color these little things in this is. And since there's not a black, I'm assuming it's the dark blue. But I when I was getting to that, I was like, what is that? And I go to look, and I'm like, it doesn't say.
Oh, no.
I guess it can be any color I want it to be. And then I did some more work on Fresh Lemonade, Primrose Cottage Stitches. I'm working on another lemon here. And I finished the word fresh, almost. I have just more of this little tail to go, but I wanted to put in this lemon. And right here is basically where the pattern ends. And right here, just past this F, is where the pattern ends. So it's a very small pattern. You would think I would have it done by now, but I don't. I really like it, and it stitches up pretty quickly.
I like that color of fabric.
Yeah,
That's nice.
I can't remember. It's a 32 count Lugana, but I can't remember the color name, which I also got at the attic. And I do have the original bag from it somewhere that has the color name. Those are not things I keep track of. And this is, I believe, 16 count Ada. And I don't remember the color of this. And it's a Hobby Lobby fabric. And this is Hands-On Design Strawberry. And it is my special gift to pick fabrics that my threads don't show up on. Now, before I decided on a fabric for this, and there was another one I wanted more, but the flowers just did not show up at all, the flower thread. And when I laid it on here, and I didn't lay like the whole skein, just a couple of threads of it to see if I could see it. And I could. So I go to stitching these flowers, and I'm like, I can't see the flowers. So, I don't know. There's green around them and stuff, so it may help. But I don't think I'm going to change it. I think I'm just going to stitch it just like that, and just like the pattern. But I'll have to decide on that after that whole row is done with all the colors that go in there, so that I know if it's showing up at all. Because in the picture, those flowers show up quite a bit. So, let's see. And then, my temperature turtles. Stitching Mommy temperature turtles. And remember I said that this whole turtle was going to be yellow? Yeah, no.
Lies.
So I started putting in some of the long stitches on this turtle right here. And I thought I had made a mistake because I'm looking at this fin and going, that is not the same as this one and the one I started stitching over here. And I was like, do I have to fix that and take it out and fix it? And I looked at the pattern and it's different. And I think it's just different because, I don't know, maybe because it's February. I have no idea. But the fin is different. First I was like, oh no. But as you can see, I have a blue color here.
It's cold.
I have been so cold all day.
Oh yeah.
So it's been temperate. I mean, just getting a little bit cooler. It was 81, I think, earlier this week, and then it's been like, you know, in the 70s, and then the lower 70s, and today it was like 60 degrees.
And
60,
raining.
And pouring. Not just raining, pouring. And I don't like thunder. I grew up in New Mexico, and I can remember being terrified when the thunderstorms would come because they would come often and they were quite loud. So where do I move to? Florida, which has a lot of thunderstorms. I know that thunder can't hurt you. I know that you can count how far away that storm is by counting how many seconds in between the thunderclap and the lightning flash. None of that makes it any better. It is the sound. And but our ground, just in general, in Arizona and Phoenix, needs the moisture, so I'm not going to complain about the thunderstorm, because honestly, the Phoenix area really didn't get any precipitation most of last year, so it's pretty dry out there.
I love the rain.
I do too. I don't mind the rain. I just don't like thunder.
Fair.
In Belgium, it rained every day.
Yeah.
I never heard thunder. So, that is me.
Okay. I'm stitching very slowly because for some reason I'm having a lot of trouble finding the right holes in this material. But okay. And you know, this is my month of microscopic stitching. Microscopic fabric counts, microscopic stitching. So earlier, I guess last week or something, I had that Starry Night pattern, and I was stitching it on 22 count Hardinger, one thread over one square, and it was, you know, it was very tiny, and it's also the kind of material where you have to be careful because the thread slips under the weave, you know. So that was one thing, and then I worked on this August rabbit, which is what I'm working on right now, and I'm using one thread over two on this is 32 count Murano Crochet. So it's also kind of small. It's not terribly small. But then the other two pieces I did are on, this one is the Nuit de Noël. I had like just a very pitiful start on it last, when I started it. And so I worked on it. Let me move this needle minder out of the way here. I have the needle minder on backwards because these are some that I got at Hobby Lobby, and they have these little round button kind of magnets on the other side, and the needle sticks to, you know, clings to them, but I feel like it's a little more precarious than sticking it on the this other thing. Whatever like this one has a little bopping of floss, whatever. So anyway, so this is how far I got. I got most of the red done. I kind of went around and did the outline of the bottom just so I could get down here to the shoes. But so I did this.
Is this in your way back? You want to lay this
Oh
down?
yeah, yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. So I did the little backpack part. I think that I had started on the little flowers and greenery back here last time. And I still haven't done the little diagonal. There's a diagonal line on each one. And actually when I was looking at it, this color down here is Green with Envy, and this is called Forest Glade. And they look very much the same. So these little empty diagonal lines in here are supposed to be this Green with Envy color, and I'm like, I don't know. I haven't done them yet, but I feel like they're not really gonna be that much different. They're not gonna show up that well.
Yes.
They're here. These little it's on here. These diagonal lines are supposed to be this color, but this color and this color look the same, don't they?
No,
I mean,
they're very different.
but anyway,
Sorry.
But also
Yeah.
one thing that I found when I was doing this little backpack thing he has, that somewhere in here I was one stitch too far out. Fortunately, I don't think it'll make make any difference. But I was like, why does that not work? And I'm like, oh, it's so it's just one more stitch in there. But I did notice that down here, where the greenery starts, there, that's one place where I had miscounted, and so I kind of stitched over it with this beige color, so that it would just stand out the way it's supposed to. There's one stitch too many in that area, but that's okay because you can't tell. You don't know unless you
You don't know unless you know.
sticking the pattern in front of you or something. As my teacher used to say, put it in the program notes. You can't really tell, if you don't say anything about it. Well, you make an excuse for it. But I did this, the little crook here. This is I call it my faceless Santa, because I didn't do the face or the beard or anything. I just was doing so much of the red, and then I was just doing random colors here and there to finish it. But I did do all 7 days of this, so I don't know if I'll get back to it or not. This is Nuit de Noël by Collection Shalala. And this is 2/2 on 28 count Lugana. And then,
Isn't that even weave?
no, it's Lugana.
Is it?
Then this is that was my first, my number one WIP-GO call. So I did the 7 days on it that I put in my WIP-GO sheet. And then my other WIP-GO call is number 10. This is Give Greatly by Silver Creek Samplers. And it says, your greatness is not in what you have, but what you give. It's a little bunny and a snowman, and the bunny's giving a carrot to the snowman. Really cute. So this is, when I started this I think I started it in Mania or something. Or maybe I started it last year as one of my new starts. But I had just started on just part of the ears of this bunny. So I finished all of the bunny, his body, and I did the sweater. And I thought I had the other color for his sweater, and I don't. I have to find it. I had not pulled it, apparently. But anyway, so I did the bunny and the little heart above his head. And but another thing is, this is very tiny. I don't know what this count is. It might be 46 count. It's very small. It's smaller than 32. And I'm stitching one thread over 1/2 on this. and it's very tiny. When I was working, I was like, this is very tiny. I can't see. And I have a very tiny needle, teeny tiny. I poked myself in the lip with it earlier, but yeah. So it's very tiny, and I have to, like, stitching it, I had to have my light shining right on it. It's really hard to see, but it's give greatly. And then, like I said, I'm working on the August rabbit. I'm down here working on little bunnies, but they're really hard to see too because, again, it's very small. It's 32 count. No, is it 32 count or 25 count Lugana? No, 32 count.
I thought
Murano
those were,
Corée.
yeah, I was going to say, I
Yeah.
thought those were all
Yeah.
Murano Corée.
So that's me.
So, I think we should segue into our hilarious story. So, a day, maybe two at the most, after we went grocery shopping, this happened. We decided to run the dishwasher, and I went to start it, and it was like crickets there. No lights, no responses. Usually if you close it all the way, all the lights turn on. There was nothing.
And what had scared me was that a couple of days earlier, somebody had one of us had pushed the door all the way in, and so it lights up like it's ready to go. You just push start, right? And so there was nothing in it, I guess, or we weren't running it, but it just had been, somebody had shut it. So I knew it was working then, like 2 days earlier or whatever. But then when we went to run the dishwasher,
But it was about 10:30 at night or something. It was late.
yeah, it was pretty late.
And our circuit breaker is outside.
Oh, yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
I said, I'm not doing that right now. Trying to look at switches and hold a flashlight and all that at the same time. I'm not doing that. So the next day, because it takes both of us because somebody has to see if it came on. Also, the plug right next to it didn't work. There's a outlet next to the dishwasher area. That didn't work either. So
in the cabinet or
Yeah, and that one in the cabinet.
in that
on the island?
island thing, it wasn't working. So I went outside, and none of the circuit breakers looked flipped. And so all the ones for the kitchen I turned off, and I turned them back on. And I was talking to Beth, and when I did the lights, the lights went off, the lights come back on, right? And all of them, she's like, nope, it's not working, it's still not working. So when I came in, I tested with the GFCI thing.
Switch on on one of the outlets.
Right.
Yeah.
And that didn't do anything. Although that might have been what turned on the outlet. We don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, okay, we need to hire an electrician.
So I get a message.
Yeah, I was really afraid.
I wanted to know the name of a reliable electrician.
Yeah, and we were afraid, like, is it gonna, do we have to replace the dishwasher? Is it some issue with the wiring of the dishwasher? We were pretty scared about what it was going to be.
So she messaged me and said, do you know a reliable electrician? And I said, absolutely. Because as part of our kitchen reinstall, we had an electrician come in.
That's why I asked you.
Yeah, and he was independent, but he was working for the general contractor, and we really liked him, and
he was really nice.
We were planning to use him for some other things, so I messaged. I was at work, and I messaged Mark, and I was like, "What's the name of that electrician?" And right away he sent me a picture of his business card, and I sent it. I sent it to Eve, and then you guys, what'd you call them?
Beth did.
Yeah, so I called him and I asked, like, I said, you know, there seems to be something up with our dishwasher and about how much would it be, you know, for you to look at it. And it wasn't very much at all. And so, because I was afraid it was going to be like, I don't know, hundreds of dollars or something. Because, you know, electricians, plumbers, whatever, you know.
You just never know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Little serenade.
That's dog medicine. That, you know, I'm supposed to give the dog her medicine.
But fortunately, it was, you know, the estimate thing that, you know, that he gave me was very minimal. You know, was
Just come check it out.
yeah. And I thought, well, okay, so it might end up costing a lot more, but at least for him to come and look at it, it's not going to be horribly expensive. So he said, you know, I can be there tomorrow afternoon. And I thought, okay, that'll work. And so he came, and, you know, we were explaining what had happened, and so he said, you know, he wanted to look at the plug, and we're like, we don't know where it is. And so he got under the sink with a flashlight, and he was looking under there, and I'm like, oh, we didn't even look at that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know where the plug was. I thought it was behind it. And I didn't want to move it because I didn't want to...
Oh, you thought it was like...
Behind the dishwasher,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know how refrigerator plugs are behind the refrigerator?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he looks under there, and there, we had, you know, random things under the sink, right? So he pulled a few things out, and he was looking under there, and he gave it a little nudge, and whoop, all the lights came on.
Okay. Now I have to tell you the other part of my part of the story. When I asked Mark, because I wanted to give it away too early, when I asked Mark for the name, I said, I forwarded your thing. That the dishwasher wasn't working and the outlet nearby. And at some point I said something to Mark, and he goes, did they check if it was plugged in? And I said, well, the outlet's not working either. And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
but he asked that.
Yeah.
He asked that very question.
That's what worried me, was because the outlet wasn't working either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
So
I think what had happened was that not too long ago,
at that same
grocery store shop on that Wednesday, one of the things we bought was a box of trash bags, and they live under the sink, and so in putting it in there, we must have accidentally nudged something that nudged the plug of the dishwasher, and you know,
because we don't run it every day.
Yeah,
you know,
like those commercials tell you.
I don't have much room. Yeah, I don't have much room to talk because we got our whole kitchen installed, and they put in a new disposal, and everything was brand new. And then one day, I go to turn on the disposal, nothing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a brand new disposal. And Mark and I were like, oh no, what if it's broken? What if we have to replace it? Oh my gosh, we just bought it, blah, 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 blah. And I think it was him, or maybe, I don't know which one of us it was, finally was like, I wonder if it's plugged in. And it had just gotten nudged like that. It's like,
well, and you know,
that's why he said that. Not because he was being a smart aleck. It's because we did the same thing with the disposal.
There's a lot of things that they
just
tell you. There's a lot of things that they tell you. The first thing you should check is if it's plugged in.
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe if it was just the dishwasher.
Yeah.
I might have, but I checked that outlet, and that outlet would not, because that's where I plug in the tablet to charge it because it's convenient, and you know it didn't light up that it was charging.
Yeah.
So.
That's reasonable.
Well, one of the things that the guy did, because we talked about that, and one of the things because he said, you know, she had pushed that the
little
button thing, and so he pushed it on and off again or whatever, and I think it was after that we checked the outlet again. And it was working.
I had put it on before and it was working. He just wanted to do it just to make sure everything was fine.
So But yeah, so I don't know.
So
if
he came
that
out
was,
to do nothing.
Yeah. So while he
had
was
to do
out
that.
here, we said, we've got this other thing. So by the front door, there's a switch there that
Has
is
a light
supposed to.
sensor. It has a light sensor to
Yeah,
come on
so-
whenever it gets dark.
So the outside lights are supposed to come on, and we had a problem with them, not working. And at one point, I mean, it usually was the case where if they weren't on, I could just hit the switch and they would come on. But then just in the last couple of days, again, that switch wasn't working, and we have another switch like that in the back on the back door. And a different electrician years ago had told us that it needed a new switch for that light. And we weren't as concerned about the back one as we were with this front one because, the house looks dark and, with
Yeah.
nobody here if those lights don't come on.
Well, and if Beth is coming home at night or something,
Right.
Yeah.
You need light.
Yeah. And so we had him, take a look at that. And he pulled the switch off and he said something about that,
Did I check the battery?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I didn't
it
know
has
that was
a
it.
battery?
Oh no.
And he goes, well, I can just put a new switch in there that's just a regular switch if you want. And I said, go for it. Because I would have had to go find that battery and put it in. And then if it still didn't work,
Yeah.
so yeah, is it convenient for us to remember to go turn on the light and then turn it off again? No. But it wasn't working anyway.
Right.
and I could just picture that if we said, no, I'll get a battery. Do Beth and I have good luck with getting batteries? No. I have a remote that I bought to turn this on and off.
The tablet.
The tablet for our recording.
And it was fantastic. And then it stopped working. So we got a new battery. It's the right size. It still won't work.
Somewhere along the line, we think that perhaps the light that the battery operates maybe fell out when we were replacing the battery. I don't know. All I know is that we put the new battery in and it didn't work.
Yeah. So now I have
And
to
it
get
didn't
up.
even light up. So
I have to get up and turn it on, and get up and turn it off. I cut
Well,
that
I've
off
been meaning to
every
go see if I could buy another one.
week. I told Eve that's what I was going to give her for Christmas, but I didn't do it.
well, when the electrician guy, just plugged the dishwasher, fixed the plug in the dishwasher.
I
felt like
love moments like that.
I felt like, when like, I hate to say this, but like, when like a woman doesn't know how
Like
to
a
do
dumb
something with
girl.
a car. Yeah. Like, oh, you have to put oil in it?
Well, the thing is that in my parents' home in New Mexico, I had replaced light switches, I had replaced outlets, I had replaced light fixtures and all that. I am not afraid to do that. But the circuit breaker at that house was clearly marked. It was easy to see if the circuit was on or off from looking at it. And it was in my bedroom, so I was quite used to it. Here, you have to unscrew the door that goes to the circuit
here,
breakers. And then the last time Dad and I tried to check the circuit breakers because an outside plug had stopped working, they were not correctly labeled.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to do is try to replace something that is not correctly labeled. And I asked him, do you want me to go turn off the circuit for this? And he goes, nah, that's okay. Yeah, I wouldn't be replacing that light switch.
Oh, he did the same thing at our house. He replaced outlets for us. And I was like, do you want me to turn off the breaker? He's like, nah. Like, okay.
Yeah, but
I guess you know how to not light yourself up.
well, you know what? My ex-husband's father worked for the power company in New Mexico. And at one point, he was electrocuted. He didn't die, but it was pretty serious. He was up on electric thing, and it actually shot out his hip.
Ugh.
Yeah. But he didn't die.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, it was painful, but it wasn't really, you know, it was okay. And then, and then I would watch.
Shot out my hip. It
Yeah.
was okay.
I would watch my ex-husband, and he liked to play with electric trains. And I don't know if you've ever worked with electric trains, but you get shocked a lot.
Yeah, I know a guy. I know of a guy in Arkansas who died that way. That like it.
With an electric train?
No,
set?
electricity. He was a P&M worker.
Yeah, this was just an
I have
electric train.
I have a friend who worked for OSHA in Arkansas.
Oh.
And so she
Yeah,
knew
so
about it.
he would get those. They're not giant electric shocks. They're just, you know, because it's running over an electrified rail, you get little shocks if you touch it at the wrong time. And he used to get those all the time, and it didn't bother him at all. And I'm like, well, that explains why your father did so well after being electrocuted. And I, you know, it could be like mom turning tortillas with her hands. It's just something you're used to.
Yeah.
We used to laugh that mom didn't have any sensation in her fingertips, but you know, it could be something like that. But I was quite shocked that he didn't want the breaker off.
Yeah. Well, that's how we did at our house, switching, like, changing out outlets.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever you say. He's like, yeah.
But he was nice.
He's a great
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't try to milk us for money by.
He didn't charge us
Yeah.
anything extra. It was exactly what he had
so
said.
nice,
You know,
such a nice guy.
in the estimate. So it was really
He was
nice.
really.
What was funny though is that because I when he was coming, you know, I texted him. I said, you know, do you need cash only, or can you take a credit card or whatever? And I guess he took Zelle, I think, or a check. And so I'm like, well, I don't have Zelle, but I thought, okay, well, I have my checkbook. So I'm like digging around finding my checkbook because I never use it. and then also when I was filling out the check, I realized it has my old address from my apartment when I first moved here. It has my apartment and it has my apartment phone number.
Oops.
And so I'm like crossing everything out. This is my new address, my new phone number. You know, I mean my cell phone number.
It's been a while since you used your checkbook.
Yeah.
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 Well, guess what's happening at my house?
Paint.
Well, yeah. We finally got the main room painted, and so the gentleman painting our house, it's a one-man show, so it's been a while. You see, you know, he's working alone, and but it's going well. We should be done tomorrow, I think.
How's it look?
And it looks good. He did the ceiling first, and then he did. He prepped the new kitchen wall and primed it, and then he did the doors and the baseboards and door jambs and the baseboards, and then all the doors. And then today he did the main. Come here, Rogue. I'm talking. You're being rude. Come here. Come here. Then he did the main room color today, and it looks really nice. And then he's doing the 2 accent colors tomorrow morning, which is why I'm here on a Friday night instead of Saturday, because
Well, and also because you.
I'm going to a concert tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go see Star Wars, and so that was fun. And I had 3 days at home this week. I'm so spoiled. I worked from home Monday, and then Wednesday and Thursday I actually took off. Although Wednesday I had to do a little bit of work remotely, but it was really nice. So Wednesday, you know, so we're ready to do the season launch. So we have a brochure at the printer that went to the printer the Thursday prior, a week ago yesterday, and then our manager went out of town, off the continent, this week, and so she's been remoting in, even though she's on vacation to check on things and stuff like that. And because it's like a really big deal that this brochure goes through and the postage and mailing and everything. So, so on Wednesday, there was a ton of chatter, and I was responding, even though I was off. I was not working from home, and I was off. I was responding because it was important stuff, and so it was kind of all day chatter. And then Thursday, I was like, "Did something happen at the office?" Like, there's no chatter today. There's no emails. There's no Teams messages, like nothing. And I was like, okay, it's my day off. It's all right. But part of my little brain's going, I wonder what's going on. Why isn't anybody talking to me? I was feeling kind of left out. but so it was nice to have a couple days. And poor Eli, oh my gosh, we get home Thursday and he's like, we're eating dinner. He goes, I made it. I made it through this week. And I'm like, and Mark goes, almost. And he's like, what? He's like, all day I thought today was Friday. You know that feeling? Like,
yes.
It's Friday. I get to. He's like, I can't believe it. Oh, tomorrow.
I did that once at work. We had like, you could pay extra. Like they had fundraiser things so that you could, if you wanted to wear jeans on Friday, they had some weeks where you could pay like, I don't know, $5 to whatever the charity of the week was, so you could, so that that would enable you to wear jeans that Friday.
Oh,
and
fun.
And
to
so
buy your fashion.
Yeah, so I had paid made the donation to whatever, or maybe there were certain Fridays that were just jeans days or whatever. And so I wore my jeans to work, and I realized about 2/3 of the way through the day, today's Thursday.
Nobody else is in jeans.
So I had something else amusing happen.
What's that?
You know how you get random calls from, I'm calling for something or other, senior something or other, and I'm like, click, And often I don't even answer those phone calls. I just turn it off. But if I'm expecting a phone call from someone for something, as I happen to be right now, and it says number verified, I will answer it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I answer, and the person on the other line started doing an opinion poll thing. I mean, she launched into that thing full force. And I listened to about a sentence and a half, and I'm like, wait. But she finally stopped talking, and she's like, yes. And I said, I don't have any opinions about anything that's happening politically in Ohio. Because I live in Arizona. And she goes, I'm so sorry.
Well,
and how on earth did you get my number?
No, she said that they had gotten a lot of that. And, like Beth's got an Arkansas number.
Yeah, but you have an Arizona number.
No, but the front of it. What is it?
Area code.
The area code. So if I only have my cell phone, so if I move from here to Ohio, I wouldn't change my number.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they don't think, oh, well, that's not an Ohio, area code.
Right, that's true.
And that's why, even though it wasn't an Arizona area code,
Yeah.
I answered, but I was just like, that is so funny.
I've heard somebody say something like area codes are the last like thing of like your origin, because wherever you got your first cell phone, now that they're porting everything over, that's where it's like your identity.
That's like what I can always tell the spam numbers because they're Arkansas numbers, and nobody that I still know in Arkansas would ever call me. We just
Aww.
I have
Social media, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say we have Facebook and texts and things like that. So I know it's not gonna be a phone call. My best friend doesn't live in Arkansas or whatever, and so I know that if it's an Arkansas area code, that it's a junk
It's
call.
probably spam.
Yeah, and so so I usually don't answer those. I just turn them off or whatever. But then once in a while, and so there's a couple. Arkansas has like I think 2 area codes now, 2 or 3 maybe. And so I know, like, and a lot of times, and this phone that I have now will say Little Rock or Arkansas or whatever. So I know it's a junk call. But then, like, I, like, once in a while, the same thing. If I'm kind of expecting a call from some, like, especially like from a doctor's office where I know that the person that calls me might not call from an Arizona number, they might call from their cell phone, whatever. So if I'm, like today, I was expecting a call. I was thinking that this person from the doctor's office might call me, and so I got some call with some unrecognizable area code, and so I went ahead and answered it, and I've done that a couple of times where I've just answered the call because of whatever. And, I can tell it's
Stop it.
a robocall or an automatic dialer from a person sitting there, because
There's silence when you answer.
I'll say, hello, hello, hello. And then, it's like, okay, and it's just like, it's so aggravating. So,
One time I got a call, and it was a human.
mm-hmm.
And she goes, do you remember when I called you before? You
Yeah.
asked me to call you back. And I said,
Liar.
I never asked you to call me back. Don't call me again. Because I think she was just like wanting to have me sell the house or something like that.
I get these calls from somebody, and I can't tell. I can never tell if it's like some kind of scam like that, like they're trying to get you to answer because they think you're likely to or if it's someplace that has my number associated with the wrong name or whatever. But because I've gotten like texts sometimes that have this same name, and I've gotten a few calls that have this name, but it's the caller or texter is looking for somebody named Florence, and I'm like, I don't understand how, I'm like, this is not Florence, don't call me again. But
Do I sound like a Florence?
United Healthcare.
Florence.
United
Florence.
Healthcare repeatedly has been calling me, but with a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And because I tried to stay on to see if a human would come on one time, that it was a message for some guy. And I'm like, that dude is never going to get any of these messages because you're calling the wrong number. Now, that being said, whoever had my phone number before I moved here to Arizona and got this phone number, and it happened a lot when I lived where I lived when I first moved here. A lot of, what is it called? People that want you to pay them money.
Scammers?
Prince of Nigeria?
No. Credit people
Oh, yeah.
calling for payments.
A creditor.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's not me. Well, is he there? He doesn't live here. Well, do you know his phone number? I don't know who he is. Right. And then I didn't get those calls for years. And then earlier this year, I started getting them again.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can figure is that maybe he was in financial trouble somewhere and he put that number on because he knew it. Because
Or he
why?
just made up a number.
No. Why
Yeah, but
all of a sudden? Why all of us? No, it was calling for the same dude. Why all of a sudden am I getting those phone calls again?
He got out of jail.
I saw a cartoon. I think it was a Far Side cartoon, but there's a judge, sitting up in the thing, and the attorney, and then a witness, right? And so the attorney says to the judge something like, I don't know, he's asking for a recess or something. He goes, the witness's pants are on fire. That is the best cartoon.
One time, one time I mean, who's bothering me right now is a certain pharmacy which shall remain nameless, because they keep wanting me to schedule all my medicines to be filled at the same time, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Okay, ma'am. Okay. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like my medicines are changing so much right now. Like, what is the point? And
or 90-day supplies. I'm like,
well, I don't mind that, but I'm like,
I
no,
want a 90-day supply.
They just, I don't know why. Well, we can coordinate your medicines to fill on the same day and then reduce your trips. I'm like, why do you care how many times I go to your pharmacy? And also, stop calling me at work. Can you please stop when you put somewhere on your list that I don't care about this, I don't want to be called? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And then they call back. And I'm like, I thought I said I did not want this. Stop it.
Well, I had my pharmacy said that some time ago, you know, and I thought, well, that would be a good thing, because like at some point I had gone through, you know, several different medicines that were added on or taken off and this and that and the other. And so it seemed like, you know, I had a new refill like every other day or something. And it was kind of like, you know, and so at one point I had said, yeah, you know, we'll do that so that they're all refillable in the same day. And it doesn't work. I still get like, you know, 2 or 3 things that, you know, and you know, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have to go to the pharmacy tomorrow.
I'm just like, I don't care. Just stop it. Just stop calling me. Stop bugging me. Cut it out.
That's like that series of calls that I got in Little Rock saying that, you know, were you involved in an accident on such as, do you have a white Honda, blah, blah, you know, it's like, A, no, I don't have that car. B, I wasn't in town that day. And C, it wasn't me. And then, you know, so I don't know how many times because the first few calls I got of that were some incomprehensible message. I couldn't understand what this girl was saying. I couldn't understand what she was, you know, calling about or whatever. And when I finally, I think I finally called the number. It was like in the evening, so it was after hours. So I called the number that they mentioned, and it was like some law office. And I said, I got a message from you guys. I don't understand anything about what the person was saying. So, you know, and so then the next day, they called and left a message, and I could understand it, and it was something about, you know, this could seriously impact your ability to drive in the state of Arkansas. And I was like, what the heck? And so I called them during the day at work. I went into a conference room by myself, and I called them, and this person says, well, do you have a white Honda Accord? And I said, no. And they asked, were you involved in an accident and such on you know, such as your place on such and such a day? And I said, no, I wasn't in town on that day. I have a blue Honda Civic. You know, it wasn't me. Because they asked for me by name.
Oh, weird.
And, you know, and they were calling my number, right? And so I, you know, I explained to them, no, it's not me. I don't have that car. I wasn't in any accident. It wasn't me. So finally they said, okay. And so I went, I don't know, a couple months. I don't know when it was. But then I got another phone call. Is this, you know, Elizabeth Martinez? We have, you know, you call us back because this could seriously impact your ability to drive in the state. I'm like, oh my God. And so I called them, and right away this guy starts, well, do you have a white Honda Accord? I'm like, no, it's not me. And I said, I got a phone call before, and blah, 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 blah. And, and what it was, I think, is that I don't know if the person gave a false name or if they gave the right name. But, you know, you can, one of the things, if it wasn't the right number or she didn't leave a number,
you can throw
go
a stick and hit an Elizabeth Martinez.
Yeah.
So
my name is as common as dirt. And but also you can go online and look up a name, and it'll give you like every number associated with that name, or, you know, in the city of Little Rock or whatever. So I don't know if this person who gave their information gave a wrong phone number, did not give a phone number, gave a wrong name, whatever, because this person was involved in an accident at a certain intersection in town there. So, and it was a real intersection, it was a real place, you know. But so I think that whoever was looking for a phone number for this person just found, you know, maybe the first Elizabeth Martinez in Little Rock, Arkansas, and called and assumed that it was me, whatever. And, you know,
Dang.
so yeah.
Good thing she didn't commit murder.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You know, and so it was just like, it was like, that is not me. That is so creepy.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. It,
I've never been mistaken for anybody like that. I've had plenty of weird calls. I'm like, I thought all that had stopped. Leave me alone. I thought all that spam calling had stopped.
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
mine slowed down, and then I got stuff because of probate, and you know, and
Yeah.
yeah.
One of my favorite accounts I've seen on like Instagram or whatever is this guy who basically just engages the scam callers and like
Waste their time.
wastes their time, and he's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What I really hate is a lot of these scam people prey on the most vulnerable of
yeah.
society.
Hate it.
And, you know, like seniors have extra money for you, you know, and that they prey a lot on seniors because seniors are not as tech savvy and stuff like that as others.
Like they want you to go to Target and get gift cards to pay them
Oh.
back and all this, and I don't understand people who do it. They
Yeah.
get scared, I guess.
I love on like Judge Judy or the People's Court or something like that, somebody who's being sued because some friend of hers let them use her account to cash a check like that. And of course then the bank didn't get paid, so they're taking the
You know
the
what's
other
scary?
person has the $3,000 and now she's in the whole 3,000, you know. And they're like, well, it wasn't me, it was the people who wrote the check. Yeah, it's you because you're the one that left with $3,000. Well, I don't have that money anymore. Well, that's not anybody's problem but yours.
What's scary? I'm on a board on Facebook for parents of adult children, and one of the things that I guess is like has really happened is, especially with college kids, these scammers will find out the grandparents and call them, and the person calling sounds like their grandchild, you know, in distress, and I've been arrested or whatever, and they want, you know, $2,000 right now, and the grandparents not checking or knowing, you know, well, like I've seen stories where people say that it did happen to their parents, and also somewhere they said my you know, my dad called me to check on the kid, and of course the kid was fine, you know, so they avoided the scam. But I'm like, I hope you have your own personal hell for tricking little old people like that. It makes me cry.
That wouldn't work with me. I told Robert if he ever got arrested that he better have a big bank account.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's like sometimes
I know,
they're like,
I know. I've heard of that
been in an
scam.
accident and I have to, you know,
I've heard of that scam. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and people fall for it. It's just sad.
Well, especially
that-
since they want to do whatever they need to do to help the person that.
I like that they have like a lot of times by the cash registers it'll say, or by the displays of gift cards it'll say, you know, not to try to deter people from falling for that gift card scam.
I think it's Walmart that has a limit on how many you can buy
Yeah.
to try to curb a lot of that.
There was this one, she's a knitwear, I don't know, she's a designer, I guess, influencer. I don't know what she is, but she went to buy gift cards for her employees, and the cashier, this older man, was trying to stop her, and she got all upset. But I'm like, he was trying to stop you because he was afraid that that's what was happening, and she got all offended, like
He didn't want you to be scammed.
yeah, or thought, I don't know.
No,
Anyway,
I remember Dad bought a whole bunch of gift cards for everybody in the family, and they called the manager. And I said, this is just for Christmas presents because, my dad doesn't want to go shopping for it. And you can get them to let you do it.
right,
But they're stopping you for a reason.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What else happened funny this week? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I was going to tell you a funny story now. I can't remember what it was. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't know if this is an appropriate story, but at the symphony, one of our managers who manages the box office was talking to the guy who manages the orchestra musicians, and she's like, because they have to ask for comps through an email, and she's like, why can't your musicians read an email? And he goes, and he himself is a musician working in the office, right? And he goes, he doesn't play in the orchestra, but he is a musician himself. But he goes, because they're musicians. And why can't you play the violin? I was like, that is the best crack your face comment I've ever heard in my life.
I read this
So
thing.
the whole office cracked up. We were all listening in.
I read this thing where some orchestra in some town in Kansas had folded, and so they had sent an email to the various people, the musicians and the patrons and the board or something like that. Saying that they were regrettably having to basically close or fold the orchestra. That they didn't have the fundraising and blah 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 blah. And so I was reading in the comments and the one of the commenters was saying something about how, oh well, orchestras are dying and the art form's not going to be around in 10 years. And I'm like, people have been saying that for decades.
The past 10 years.
Yeah, since I joined the symphony.
Just because you don't like that music doesn't mean there aren't a lot of people who do.
I even have heard musicians say like that when I like I said, when I joined the symphony, we were going on a run out somewhere, and this stupid know-it-all trombone player was saying something about like that, the same sort of thing, like, oh well, orchestras are on their way out and they're not going to have them, blah blah blah. And I'm like, but that was like what in the 1990s,
yeah,
and so. But, people have been saying that forever. And I said that, with orchestras, it's not like having a factory in your town or something like that. It's not a big money generator for the people of the city or whatever. I said, so it all depends on can the management raise enough money? Is the city willing to pay for what is essentially a luxury for a lot of towns? And willing to pay the money that it takes to have an orchestra, and are the musicians willing to have a reasonable salary? Because you can price yourself out of a job, and so it's this delicate balance of, and you may not have the people that can raise the money, or you may not have the money available in the town. It depends on how much money people have to give to some organization. Because it's true for any arts organization. You're have this delicate balance of the physical needs, like paying the rental for the hall, and everything else, and then also paying musician salaries and all the other things associated with an orchestra, like renting music and all that kind of stuff.
The thing is too that the orchestra honestly has to make itself relevant. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean by just pandering or playing.
Like your orchestra doing Star Wars?
Well, no, well, that's part of it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's part of it. But the other part is that actually, and our CEO has talked about this, we do a lot more community engagement education programs than any orchestra. He's like, I haven't seen any orchestra with our budget or beyond, like, with this much involvement. Like, our education and community engagement department is phenomenal. We do field trips that come in. They go out to classrooms. They have a program called I don't know, I can't think of it now, where they Mind Over Music, I believe is what it is, where they take musicians into the classrooms and support the teachers' STEM lessons with music. So if they're studying fractions, they talk about, so they go in and they do that. They also go to unhoused communities. They go to hospice. They go to like all different kinds of entities, and they are just everywhere, making the orchestra relevant to the community here, not just not just people who can go to the hall. Like what I said to our administration is, like, I see us as three things. We serve people who can come to the hall. They come to concerts. We serve people who can't come to the hall, and then through education of young people, we're serving people who will one day come to the hall. And I think if you're not as an orchestra making yourself relevant in that way, I don't think the community has any more. Like it used to be, like, oh, let's get dressed up and go to the symphony, and that was part of life. Like, and now not so much, right? But if you're making yourself relevant in other ways,
well,
and serving the community will support you.
One of my memories from elementary school was sitting on the floor in the cafeteria. Maybe it was the gym, I'm not sure, with most or all of the other students, with the symphony there, and they were playing, I don't know what it's called, Peter and the Wolf.
Probably.
And so before that, they showed how these instruments, who normally sound differently, can make other sounds. And that guest conductor you had that had the kids come up to do some of Sleigh Ride or something like that.
Fun.
Those things are memories that kids carry on, that keep them interested in music. But if a school system does not support kids learning music, like having a music program in the school, it's very difficult for people to want to be a musician because they don't know it, and they're not exposed to it. And I remember when Robert was in kindergarten, the parents' organization was, I don't know what they did on the music end. I just know what they did on the art end. And I was there every day, almost all day, most of the year, doing art stuff with the kids in his school. One year everybody in the school painted a tile that I fired, and then other people, not me, put them on the wall in the main area. And then I went into every classroom, and every classroom made did a project with clay, and they had an auction. Parents would come to this auction, and they knew which class had done that, and so they knew their kid had a part of it, because each kid had to help in that class project. And my understanding is that one year the classes all did quilts, and another with me it was clay, and we fired the clay and made planters and, different things like that. And when you get children to have a positive experience in the arts of any kind while they're growing up, and give them exposure to the arts, not only does it give them a more well-rounded education, but learning and playing music helps with critical thinking and mathematics skills.
Yeah.
And tactile experiences like art and cooking and sewing give children so much more. Art, making things with clay and paint and crayons, is one of the ways they reach children who have been traumatized in some way. And so there's a lot of municipalities that don't think it's important to provide funds for that kind of thing.
That's what I think. Something, real strength that we have, and that is this education department, because without it, like, would we even be relevant at this point?
Yeah, you have to help build the audience of the future, and with so many schools nowadays, cutting back their music programs or delaying their music programs until the kids are in junior high, and it's difficult because there's so many other things to compete at that age and everything else, and so you have to teach kids basically that, hey, this is something that you might be interested in the future, or either a musician, or just as importantly, an audience member. Because that way you don't have people going, oh, classical music is boring, or such and such is boring.
That thing that I was telling you about that I helped out in the class, that was paid for by the PTA, and the auction was used to help pay for the next time. And they also paid.
That's neat.
That PTA made enough money off of one of those auctions to put an awning over their middle area, a beautiful one. But those kids all had experiences of art. And I'll tell you, the kids in the special needs program and the younger kids just went at it with painting the tiles. But the older kids are like, I don't know how to draw. And I said, you don't have to know how to draw, just anything. You can draw it with a pencil first if you want to, and then just paint over it because it'll burn off in the firing, I said, and they would want to erase it and erase it and erase it because they had not been exposed to enough of free-form drawing that they felt confident enough in their drawing skills to permanently put something on a tile.
What is it they say in Breakfast Club? When you grow up, your heart dies. You know what I mean? Like we kind of discourage that.
I read an article
as you get older.
I read an article a long time ago, like in Newsweek or something, years ago, where the guy was talking about how in little kids in early elementary school or whatever, or even preschool, you tell them, oh, draw a picture of your family, or draw a giraffe, or draw this and that and the other, and they're like, and they just draw it, and it could be stick figures, it could be something, a purple giraffe or whatever, but they just draw without thinking, and then at some point, as you get older, we all think, oh, well, I can't draw because you have this image of this idea that you have to be perfect, or you have to be Rembrandt, or you have to be something,
Why does that happen?
Coloring books.
Yeah. And that
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. And so, and the same thing happens with music. Little kids will make up a song and like my friend
on the piano.
My friend notoriously made up some song about getting her toe stuck in the bathtub faucet or something. But then when you get older, like, oh, I can't carry a tune in a bucket, or I can't sing, I only sing in the shower, I can't, and
Oh,
it's
you mean
because-
like when you said you couldn't paint that owl?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Well,
I was thinking the same
you
thing
lose
happens.
confidence.
The same
in-
thing happens in any art that you're doing, because you know, straying from the path of exactly what colors to use or whatever is hard for you. Where Eve is just like whatever, you know. So, we get these notions that things have to be a particular way or supposed to be a particular way, or and then we lose our confidence in just expressing ourselves.
And so you know, it's important that we keep that, you know, that those avenues open, and that's one thing where, like with the owl painting, you know, it seemed very daunting to me because I think it was big and it was unusual, and it wasn't, you know, what's really hard for me is like staring down that blank page or that blank thing, you know, and like I had a lot more experience with it when I lived in Little Rock, and I used to go to the Painted Pig, which is one of those paint your own pottery kind of places, and I, you know, it still was hard for me to look at like a blank, you know, like you could get like a tile or something like that, and I had to have an idea in mind about what I wanted to put on there or how I wanted to decorate something. But one of the things I learned in doing that was that the more I did it, the easier it came for me. Not because I'm a Rembrandt, but because I have, you know, eyes and you know, physical ability, whatever. And so because everybody has seen something, you know, that you want to recreate, and you may have to, it may take you a few tries, whatever, but it's not, you know, it's not impossible. And so, like, especially if you're doing something like, I knew a girl who was, she was making the little tiles, but she was like doing geometric shapes or whatever, but she was very hung up on the idea of what it would look like, I guess, or something like that. And it was like, you know, you just have to kind of do it. Like I would hear people say all the time, "Oh, I can't draw. Oh, I can't draw," and it was like, you know,
there's a lot of people that say,
Yeah.
"I can't draw a straight line." I'm like, neither can I. That's why there's rulers. You know?
Yeah.
We really have been talking and yammering for
A little while. Yeah.
About very important subjects.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us again this week. We hope that all your crafting is spontaneous and brave.
So we'll take an art class.
And that the Ides of March didn't do anything bad to you.
Yes.
That nobody tried to stab you.
By the time you see this, you will be safe from the Ides of March.
Yes.
So,
And don't get pinched tomorrow.
oh yeah. When is that, Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday, yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.